there, and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining me for this edition of the program. Well, the war between Israel and Hamas. Well, according to Israel, their entire operations within the Gaza Strip is against Hamas and Hamas operatives. However, the world is seeing it differently. The world is seeing it Israel versus Palestine, and there have been calls for a ceasefire, of which, unfortunately, Israel is not going to agree to. But apart from it, it seems as though the world is split on whether or not there should be concrete efforts to ensure that a ceasefire comes to fruition. For example, yesterday, the United Nations Security Council, in a motion brought forward by Algeria, to call for an immediate ceasefire to the situation in the Gaza region. Well, that was actually backed by 12 members of the United Nations Security Council. The United Kingdom actually abstained, but the US vetoed. And interestingly, it's rather strange, isn't it? Because the US President, Joe Biden, within recent days, has actually started calling for a ceasefire due to the humanitarian issues associated with the operations of Israel. Here in TNT as well, there have been calls for a ceasefire, most recently over the weekend. The members of the public that included concerned Muslims of Trinidad and Tobago, the Movement for Social Justice, the OWTU, participated in a march in which they were trying to send a message to the US ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago. Let's get more into that discussion now, as I'm joined by Mr. David Abdullah, the political leader of the Movement for Social Justice. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Keaton, and thank you for having me, and good morning to all of your viewers.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the program. Well, as I've mentioned in my introduction, there are efforts to bring forth a concrete, a strong call, a concrete call for Israel to actually have a ceasefire in its operations against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. It's not getting the support that it is required to do so. What is happening now with the Western world? How is the Western world so divided on this situation?
Yes, thank you. Key question. And really what is happening more and more is that the United States is standing on its own, isolated from the rest of its allies, because as you mentioned, well, the Security Council has 15 members, five of which are permanent members. Those are the United States, Great Britain, France, China, and Russia. Now, those five permanent members have the power of a veto. And if a resolution comes before the UN Security Council and any one or more of those five vote against, in other words, exercising the veto, the resolution fails, even though all the other members who are not permanent members are in support. If a country that has a veto abstains, the vote will pass, the resolution will pass. And therefore, it was really the United States alone standing against the rest of the world. Because you're correct, Keaton, the UK abstained, but the abstention would not have stopped the resolution for the immediate ceasefire being passed. What stopped it was the United States veto. Mm-hmm. So the United States and France, which is one of the US's allies, member of NATO and so on, member of the G7, France actually voted in support of an immediate ceasefire, in support of Algeria's resolution. So the US is standing alone with Israel on this question. The US position is that they then proposed a counter resolution, which did not succeed. Their resolution said that there would be proposed a 6-week ceasefire, limited ceasefire, but that they then added a whole set of other conditions, that there would be Hamas would give over all of the hostages. But for example, they said nothing about all of the prisoners that Israel has taken from the West Bank since October 7th. I think some 7,000 people have been taken prisoners since October 7th by Israel. Now, these persons are being held in Israeli jails without trial and without charge. Now, in real terms, what is the difference between somebody being held by a state without trial, without charge, without access to legal representation, and someone who's been held hostage. In a sense, it is basically the same. And therefore, because there's no judicial process in Israel going in and seizing people and killing people in the West Bank as well, and bulldozing homes and so on and so on. So the rest of the world is really standing against. And there's another matter before the International Court of Justice. Of course, you remember South Africa took Israel to the ICJ, and the ICJ ruled essentially in South Africa's favor, and just stopping short of saying that Israel was engaged in genocide, but it did say that Israel should ensure that it does not engage in genocide. So that was a kind of a warning to Israel from the International Court of Justice. But the rest of the world sees what is taking place in Gaza as genocide, because Israel is increasingly going into the last area which it had said was safe for residents of Gaza, Palestinians, to live, which is in the south of Gaza at Rafah. But they are now in Rafah. In fact, I saw a report that they went into a hospital and arrested 70 medical personnel. And so they're trying to drive Palestinians in Gaza either into the sea or out of Gaza completely. They have destroyed most of Gaza, and their intention, therefore, is to take full control of Gaza, which is totally unacceptable and which is tantamount to genocide.
Since the beginning of this entire war, the escalation of an ongoing conflict between Hamas and Israel, you've seen actually the reporting from Western media houses change. At the beginning, it focused a lot more on Hamas's actions and Palestine defending itself. Within recent times, you're seeing a lot more Western media outlets focusing on the situation in the Gaza Strip itself. For example, most recently, that report in respect to the arresting of several medical individuals. Supplies are running low. Even medical officials in the Gaza Strip have indicated that they're so low on pain meds, any injured individual is usually just left to scream for hours to try and get over the pain, whatever they may be facing. But beyond that, we're also now hearing from the World Food Programme that they actually cannot deliver aid to various parts of the Gaza Strip, particularly Khan Yunis. What we're seeing on the part of the United States too, this influence on the part of the US. The President of the US, Joe Biden, has called for a ceasefire for humanitarian reasons, but at the same time has pledged, I believe, 60 billion US in aid to Israel for their offenses. Are we seeing hypocrisy on the part of the US?
Absolutely. And the Western media as well, excuse me, because the reporting that may now be getting out a little bit through the Western media should have been taking place 4 months ago, 4.5 months ago, when Israel started bombing indiscriminately and killing mostly women and children in Gaza, Palestinians in Gaza, and the attacks against Palestinians in the occupied areas on the West Bank. So the Western media has also been very hypocritical. Thankfully, there's been Al Jazeera and also social media, which has enabled the world to see the reality on the ground. Now, Biden is now trying to put pressure on Netanyahu, but the signal that Biden gave and the United States gave was immediately after October 7th. Biden was in Israel, and other Western leaders went. Sunak went, and others went. And therefore, they were essentially saying to Israel, we are with you, do whatever you have to do after October 7th. And of course, the other issue is military assistance. So, billions of dollars have already been sent by the United States to Israel. So even while they're talking about ceasefire and so on, they have been rearming Israel and enabling Israel, therefore, to bomb Gaza and indiscriminately and kill mostly women and children and engage, therefore, in this genocide. So the U.S. position and Biden's position is totally unacceptable and is not just hypocritical, it is abominable in my view and in the view of most of the world. Blinken and Biden attacked South Africa for the case it brought. It said that there was no arguable case. It was a frivolous, vexatious case. And that was not so. The ICJ, in fact, upheld and agreed with most of South Africa's positions before the court. And South Africa and other countries are again before the International Court of Justice, this time on the issue of apartheid being imposed on Palestinians in the West Bank and occupied areas. And there's, tremendous evidence. I mean, all of it is clear. The United Nations Special Rapporteur's reports on Palestine years before October 7th was describing Israel as an apartheid state and engaged in apartheid. It described Gaza as the largest open-air prison in the world. It spoke to the humanitarian problems and the discrimination and so on, and the attacks against Palestinian civilians and journalists as well. You remember the Al Jazeera female journalist who was killed by an Israeli sniper, and Israel has refused to accept responsibility for that. So that all of this evidence has been built up, the control of water and electricity and entry of goods into Gaza and into occupied territories. All of this demonstrates that Israel is a settler, is engaged in colonization. The actions of Israeli settlers has been condemned by the UN Security Council and has been declared by the UN Security Council as a clear violation of international law and of UN Security Council resolutions. Yet these things have been allowed to continue. So what happened October 7th was not the start. This has been something that has been taking place in terms of Israeli colonialism and apartheid and discrimination and so much more against Palestinians. This has been going on for more than 7 decades.
Well, we're now joined by Mr. Imtiaz Mohammed, a public relations officer of the Concerned Muslims of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Mohammed, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Good morning to you. Good morning to your viewers. I apologize for the late start on my side.
That is no problem at all. You've actually you've expressed, as we've also heard from Mr. Abdullah, that women and children are being brutally murdered. The situation at the hospitals in Gaza, including the numerous shortages associated with essential aid. People will argue, Mr. Mohammed, that this is just what war is. This is just exactly what war entails. Why is this an issue for Trinbagonians to actually focus on, given the actions of the march to the US Embassy over the weekend? Why is there so much focus now in Trinbago about this particular issue?
Well, actually, it's not only Trinidad and Tobago. If you stay tuned to Al Jazeera, you will see there are marches all over the world, right, including the big cities, even at home in the United States of America. You have marches by the hundreds of thousands of people in the UK, right, another leader in this, supporting Israel, hundreds of thousands of people. So it is not only Trinidad and Tobago. I think it's all about the humanity in people, that is, and the advantage, the extreme advantage that the United States with Israel, what they are doing to the Palestinians. And they haven't been doing this for just 7th October coming forward. This advantage and this, ethnic cleansing and so on have been going on now for 75 years. And people have to really know the history in order to see the injustice against the Palestinian people for over a period of 75 years. This didn't start October the 7th. October the 7th was a reaction to what had been going on since 1917 coming forward. It is important that the world continue to demonstrate and continue to protest, and we right here in Trinidad and Tobago, we should also give that support as well. And that is what we basically are doing. When we go out and we march and we protest and so on, we need to put political pressure on the United States, the leadership, and the bigger governments. There are so many countries that when this war had started, that they were endorsing what Israel was saying and saying Israel have a right to defend themselves and so on, right? But now they are changing their tune, right? A lot of the European countries now are doing otherwise and saying otherwise. because they see the extreme advantage that has been, against the people of Palestine, right? And the genocide, right, that is taking place. The genocide is open and clear to everyone except the Israelis and except those sitting in the White House in Washington, right? But it's clear to everyone. There's no more hiding the history of Palestine and hiding the ethnic cleansing of Palestine and so on. The world is open now, right? So, and this war have been taking place, when it started, right? This is not a just war. War has, rules. They have international laws, etc., that govern war, right? So to say that we should expect casualties, civilian casualties, that is in the numbers that we see, and going into hospitals and just killing people in the hospital, moving them out, mashing up equipment, by bombing, and so all these things have been going on since October the 7th.
Mr. Mohammed,
right?
I hear what you're saying in respect to the rules of war and international law, and not disregarding that, but as you've mentioned, political pressure is growing on Western countries. Everybody's calling for what is right to be done. But, Mr. Mohammed, exactly what is right, in the sense that who determines what is right and what is best? For Israel, who determines what is right and what is best for the people of Palestine?
Okay, so, you have the United Nations, right? And there are countries who sign up with the United Nations. If you're signing up to an organization, then you should respect the rules that govern that organization. When they make rules, you go by them. It's an injustice to sit on the Security Council with 15 representatives and 14 vote, right, in favor of ceasefire. And then you have one country, United States, comes up and say, well, no, I voted against it. And then the whole decision of the Security Council collapse. So what is the purpose of the United Nations? So the United Nations, you have an international criminal court, you have an international court of justice and so on, right? And the thing about it is that, the United States and Israel are not members of the International Criminal Court. Why they are not members of the International Criminal Court, right? These are countries who will fight and do whatever is necessary and give support, etc., to bring other leaders in front of the International Criminal Court, right? But for themselves, they are not members. And the reason they are not members is because they can do like what they are doing today in Israel. They know very well. This is not the first time what they are doing in Palestine, that they haven't done in other parts of the world. The United States have committed war crimes in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Vietnam, etc., right? And the reason why they are not a member of the International Criminal Court is because they do not want their leaders to be tried. When they do something, right, nobody should question it, right? If they decide to wage war against a country, nobody should question it. And that is why they don't want to be a member of the International Criminal Court. If you so believe in democracy and you so believe in justice, right, why don't you join the International Criminal Court?
Well,
right?
And let me just shift across to Mr. Abdullah for a moment, because all that has been said this morning, I understand. Mr. Abdullah, given all that has been expressed, should Hamas actually, saying that there are rules to war and there is international law, should there also be cause for Hamas to release hostages that are being held, and at the end of this entire campaign, however it ends, that Hamas, members of Hamas, face the International Criminal Court or the International Court of Justice?
Well, okay. So first of all, Hamas has released hostages. As you know, there was a period of a limited ceasefire negotiated primarily by Qatar. And during that period, Hamas released a number of hostages, I think over 100. And Israel, in part of that agreement, released number of prisoners that they have been holding in Israel, including persons who are minors, children who they had seized and taken quote unquote prisoner, without charge, without trial, which in my view is not much different from being a hostage. So there was that exchange. Hamas has put on the table as one of the arrangements for this ceasefire the continued release of hostages and by extension from Israel the release of persons that Israel has seized and taken captive and prisoners. And so Hamas, there's no question that Hamas is prepared to give up more hostages, but it can't be just Hamas giving up hostages. As for the issue of persons going before the International Criminal Court, it can't be that persons from Hamas will be charged before the International Criminal Court and leaders of Israel and the United States are not. That what kind of fairness or justice would that be? That clearly would be wrong, and it goes to the point that Imtiaz was making. Remember, the International Criminal Court was the result of the initiative of Trinidad and Tobago's A.N.R. Robinson. He was the one who led that initiative that eventually resulted in the establishment of the International Criminal Court. But major countries, including the United States and Israel, have not signed on to that International Criminal Court and therefore not subject to its jurisdiction for the very reasons that Imtiaz has outlined. So you can't have leaders of Hamas being charged for alleged war crimes and Netanyahu and others are not. Remember, the head of the Israeli military said they're going to cut off water, cut off electricity, do this, do that, because as far as they're concerned, Palestinians are human animals. Remember that statement? Yes? And that is the way in which Israel has been dealing with the matter. It's genocide. President Lula of Brazil said recently that this is not war. Killing women and children indiscriminately is not war. He said very clearly it's genocide. And Brazil has since withdrawn its ambassador to Israel.
He did link it, if I'm not mistaken, also to the Holocaust, and that has been a very controversial topic within recent times because of the rise of anti-Semitism around the world.
Well, you see, Keaton, yes, but you see what Israel is doing is anybody who is critical of Israel is being attacked as being anti-Semitic, which is not correct. You have to separate the issue of people who are taking a position against an ethnic group, namely Jews, on the basis of racism, in the same way that people took a position against the United States and Britain and the others continue to back the apartheid regime in South Africa against African people of color, both Asian and Africans and so on in South Africa. But that is different from calling out what can be described as Zionism, which is a state which abrogates onto itself the right to colonize Palestinians, to want to remove Palestinians from that geographical area and engage in genocide. The two have to be separated. So what Israel is trying to do is to say everybody who comes out in support of Palestine is anti-Semitic, and therefore try to call people on that issue, and that is absolutely wrong. And there are people within Israel, and there are Jews outside of Israel, in the United States, in Europe, who are protesting against what Israel is doing, and they're Jewish, and they're saying that what the state of Israel is doing is genocide. Now, you can't accuse a Jew of being anti-Semitic, can you? And there are people within Israel who are protesting against Netanyahu. He's very unpopular, and one of the reasons why he doesn't want a ceasefire and he doesn't want to stop the war is that will then result in perhaps his being removed, because people are saying that Netanyahu, within Israel, are saying that instead of Netanyahu continuing the bombing and the war and the killing of Palestinians, he should sit down and negotiate a ceasefire for the release of the hostages.
Well, Mr. Mohammed,
daily protests. Yeah.
Shifting to Mr. Mohammed, because I'm curious to know, Mr. Mohammed, TNT's position has been that of CARICOM's position, which early on were calls for a ceasefire. But given the growing pressures, do you suppose that CARICOM, as well as Trinidad and Tobago by extension, needs to take up a stronger position and even re-examine diplomatic relations as other countries have?
Right. So we have written a letter supported by the MSJ, the Emancipation Committee, the unions and so on, and the women network of women and so on. And this letter had gone out, I think over at least a month ago to the Prime Minister. And we asked for certain things, including what you just asked about severing ties with, having no diplomatic ties with Israel and trade and so on. And up to now, we haven't gotten a response from the Prime Minister office, right? But we intend to start protesting at the Prime Minister office or the Parliament, right? Whichever one work within our planning. On Fridays, they normally have Parliament. So that normally clash with our midday prayer. It's difficult to if they continue to have these meetings on a Friday, then it might be difficult for us to gather for a protest. However, we will work that out, and if we have to go to the PM office and the of cabinet, etc., then we'll do that, right? But yes, we have called for that, and it's time that Trinidad and Tobago and CARICOM, act. These leaders and they feel that they are governing small countries and we shouldn't get mixed in it, and all they do is make statements that are not strong enough, but they have to move away from this, right? No matter how small the country is, right? You must be a strong leader and you make strong statements and give a strong message, right? This is something that shouldn't be tolerated all over the world. You have powerful countries that coming out now and condemning the genocide and calling for a ceasefire and so on. And all the small countries must do the same as well, right? And Trinidad and Tobago and CARICOM countries are no different, when it comes to voicing the opinion of their people, right? When a government speaks, they're speaking on behalf of the people.
Well,
right?
Even TNT seems to be very divided over this issue. We are, unfortunately, more or less out of time. My final question is to both you gentlemen, and I'll ask Mr. Abdullah to answer first. 30 seconds or less. Is this issue between Israel and Palestine, Israel and Hamas, however it like to be phrased, a religious issue?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because there are Christians within Palestine who are being killed. Their churches have been destroyed and attacked, and also in the West Bank. So this is not a religious issue at all, and it's very unfortunate that some people would want to frame it that way. We can't get into a lot of detail on that. Perhaps you'll have us back again, and we'll talk about the biblical Palestine and the Jews and today, because a lot of the Christians, some Christians I should say, are misinterpreting it. And the Council of Bishops in the United States has come out calling for a ceasefire not once but more than once. And the Episcopal Bishop of the United States, who's the Anglican Bishop, also called for a ceasefire since last year. And let me just say that we will be writing CARICOM, because CARICOM is meeting in a couple of days in Georgetown, calling on CARICOM to take a strong position on this question.
Well, Mr. Mohammed, very quickly, your thoughts on that. Is this a religious issue?
No, it's not a religious issue, because if you'll see that even Christians are being killed, churches are being destroyed, etc. And even for Christmas, right, in Bethlehem, you would have seen the head priest, I think, of the church and so on, right, sympathizing with the Palestinian people over this matter. And even Christmas celebrations had to be called off and so on, right? And the priest himself, he was against everything that the Palestinian people, against everything that the Israeli, army and instructions coming from their government, things they were doing and so on, right? So I don't think they want us to believe that is a religious thing, but the world is smarter, right? The world is not believing that and buying into that. And if again, you have to go back to the marches. If it was a religious thing, you would have had Muslims only marching, right? Hundreds of thousands of people are coming out in these marches in all these big countries, and you'll see, tens of thousands of them being non-Muslims.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to have to end it there. Thank you both for joining me on the program this morning and for sharing your thoughts and opinions on this ongoing issue with us. Mr. Abdullah, thank you for making the time and yourself available. Mr. Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us, Keaton.
All the very best.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, there was a Standing with Israel march organized by the Redemption Christian Center and TNT Response around the Red House on Sunday. And we have reached out to the head of that particular organization, and we've welcomed them to AM Prime to have a discussion. So we get both sides and we have an understanding of both viewpoints. And I believe that they will be joining us early next week for part 2 of this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break on AM Prime. When we return, we get into some more conversations.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
They believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
let's go to the last part.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen, and we're shifting gear a bit this morning as I welcome my next guest. We're speaking about hunting and poaching here in TNT. I believe the season is due to come to an end at the end of this month, which is, interestingly, about a week and a half away. So I'm pleased to welcome agricultural entrepreneur and consultant, Mr. Riyad Mohammed, and he's joining us virtually. Hello, sir. Welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good so far, really good.
There are many purposes to hunting and poaching, and well, traditionally hunting has been used as a way of gathering food, whether it be wildlife or even foraging for herbs and vegetables. But that seems to be changing quite a bit globally. Hunting has become more and more of a sport, and people are doing it more so out of the less of the reason for gathering food and more so for the reason of being able to claim trophies. Here in TNT, it's interesting. Whilst we're still gathering food during this particular period, it seems to be very excessive at times. What are your thoughts and opinions on the current situation and circumstances here in TNT?
Right. So let me just chat 2 minutes, I guess, on the origin of hunting. So hunting really wasn't always a sport, but it was really a way of life and a means of survival for all humans since actually the beginning of time, because we were foraging for wild herbs and edible plants. All right. And the purpose of hunting at the beginning is really to obtain food, clothing, and other materials that we needed for daily survival, right, through tools and medicine. Now, hunting was practiced on all planes, terrestrial, aerial, and aquatic. In Trinidad and Tobago, our hunting season starts October 1st and ends at the end of February, which is the 20th or 29th, right, based on the leap year. Yeah, so that's a bit on hunting. Now, poaching is supremely different from hunting. So poaching is really the slaughter of animal wildlife due to its valuable assets, for example, the meat, horns, teeth, bones, hides, and even the organs, and that's illegal, right? This term is really known globally to include the harvesting of wild plant species and the removal of soil or forages from a plot of land that will affect its productivity under sustainable circumstances. Now, there's a big difference between hunting, poaching, and even pre-deal larceny. So when you say, Riyad, what's the difference between poaching and pre-deal larceny? Poaching is not to be confused with pre-deal larceny, which is really defined as the theft of agricultural inputs, equipment, machinery, and primary and secondary products, which really include fruits, vegetable tubers, lumber, livestock, and livestock products, feed and fodder, as well as the commodities that fall under aquaculture, freshwater, or marine produced. So those are the three big hitter concepts that we want to chat on this one.
But Mr. Mohammed, let me, let's pause for my last question. Where you're speaking about poaching and pre-deal larceny. I know you said that it's different, and don't get me wrong, but if we could explain it a bit further in the sense that both poaching and pre-deal larceny seems theft, but the question is theft from whom? Poaching is what? Stealing from the wild, or is pre-deal larceny stealing from someone else?
Right, so pre-deal larceny could be simply coined as stealing from producers or producers of food. Producers of food, are intentional producers of food, while the poaching is a bit different, where you actually steal from nature, right? And you do so much harm to both animal and plant wildlife. Yes, so that's like a clear distinction between poaching and pre-deal larceny.
Right, and hunting and poaching now, a distinction is when hunting season comes to an end, it's no longer hunting, it's poaching.
Correct, exactly that, exactly that.
Right, so with that being said, do we have a issue of poaching here in TNT?
Yes, we have some issues, some of which are documented. I am sure that not all are. And it's really bad because now we have so many good hunters with so much good experience and skills and knowledge. And some of these hunters are also farmers. And they would lobby, and I'd like to lobby for, as well as myself, to practice wildlife farming. And when you talk about wildlife farming, it's really the conservation, production, and utilization of wild animal species. Now, because of the laws of the land, we could really hunt in a certain portion of the year. And outside of that period, we cannot hold or have or utilize any form of wildlife, which prevents hunters who are farmers who want to produce wildlife on a commercial scale to not really continue that objective. So they're really restricted because of the laws of the land.
But if we're speaking about the laws of the land as well, whilst you have to have a hunting license or a permit during the particular season, there are no limits to the amount of game of which you can kill. Is that also proving to be an issue in terms of our ecology here in TNT?
Yes, you must have defined limits for each animal species. And like common species, we usually like to hunt in Trinidad and Tobago are like the agouti, the lap, wild hog, armadillo, deer, the spectacled caiman, and even the iguana. Now, the good thing about the iguana, that is even more restricted, which is good in some areas, right? That is only hunted between like September 1st to December 31st midnight. Yes, so we have some limits on some of these species, but you see, we need to dig a deep more into the science and business of hunting to really understand the benefits of hunting. So when someone says, hey, just ban all hunting, I really can't agree with something of that nature or the statement, right? Because you don't understand the full benefits of hunting. And let me just list a few for you if that's okay. It's really to maintain, why do you practice hunting? To maintain the ecology of some overabundant or invasive animal wildlife species. You also get value generation through bartering and sustainable commerce operations. It provides rural families and impoverished families with job opportunities for a certain period of the year. It also satisfies the daily nutritional requirements for growth and reproduction, which is really food. All right, consumers naturally produce food without antibiotics or enhanced medication additives. That's also a benefit of hunting. Also, it's really about the information and the experience sharing through generations, because you'd realize a lot of men, fathers, grandfathers, uncles go with the younger ones into that hunting experience, and that's where you have a lot of information sharing and experience sharing and a lot of bonding taking place, right? And it's also good for the mind and physical therapy through exercise and, well, like I said, natural bonding with even nature. So those are some of the benefits of hunting.
Now, here's the thing, Mr. Mohammed. In terms of our conservation and education efforts, that could be heavily debated. You've listed a lot of benefits to a new system being implemented or even explored and examined. And people are going to make the argument that, no, we need to scrap hunting completely because people do not know when to stop, people do not know limits. So what more really needs to be done from a localized point of view? What more needs to be done within communities?
Right. So what we just need to look at is really to revise those laws, the Conservation Acts, and put limits on what species could be hunted, and really just manage how we utilize these resources, because it is a natural resource. So it should be utilized. Because if you say ban all hunting, what will happen to the animal wildlife population? It will boom. Then what will happen to the farmers' crops? What will happen to farmers' livestock? What will happen to the animal-human interactions or encounters or even conflicts? So we'll have, you can't be that firm in your decision making. You need to have that leeway or mediation effect where all parties will benefit in some way while protection is really at its core. That's why we really talk about conservation, production, and utilization. Those are the main three terms when you speak about wildlife where you really want to focus on.
Well, I know that you've explored production when you speak about wildlife farming, and you've spoken about utilization when you've spoken of the products of wildlife farming, but you've also mentioned protection. I mean, given your experience and all the work that you've done and what you're involved in, are you satisfied with the protection measures that are currently in place?
No, there are some more measures that we could implement, both in situ and ex situ conservation methods, meaning that you could protect animals in their own environment, as well as even harness or utilize a few of those animals, put them in a separate environment under severe protection, and continue breeding. But you see, you need to understand the factors of livestock production, right? As a scientist, we are taught nutrition and feeding, breeding and reproduction, health and disease, socioeconomic considerations, understanding animal behavior and welfare. So when you understand these livestock production principles, we apply them to some types of wildlife, especially the ones that are endangered or critically endangered. For example, we have, according to the IUCN, which is the International Union for Conservation and Nature, we have some critically endangered species, for example, the Trinidad white-fronted capuchin, the leatherback and hawksbill turtles, and many shark species, such as the great hammerhead or even the oceanic white-tip shark, right? And then we have other vulnerable animals along the way too. So these conservation methods will help keep those populations from dropping and then to grow these populations.
Well, Mr. Mohammed, I'm glad that you've mentioned even some of the animals, but I appreciated this conversation this morning. It's been very balanced. You've looked at the positives, you've looked at the negatives, and it also leaves us room and opportunity to expand and explore further, deeper conversations to come. So, Mr. Mohammed, I want to thank you for joining me on the program this morning. And I say it's just an introductory conversation because as we've mentioned off air, there's a lot more to discuss and a lot more to come.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All the very best to you.
Take care.
Take care. Well, Rian Mohammed joining me on the program this morning, a young agricultural entrepreneur here in TNT, and his story is quite amazing. He's actually a coconut farmer. He's planted thousands of coconut trees, and then he's expanded into other root vegetables and crop vegetables as well, and working hard now at really expanding our knowledge on the role and value of wildlife here in TNT, but conservation and protection measures. But even you look at instances of wildlife farming. So a very good start to the conversations with Mr. Mohammed on AM Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a break here, and when we return, it's Wild Wednesday. We'll be right back.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
My name is Carl Media, and I'm the founder and the host of Ever Increasing Voice Ministries. Join me every Saturday and Sunday on WESN, this powerful station, at 9 a.m. on Saturdays, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. nightly. Also on Sundays, I'll be on at 7 a.m., 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. at night time. When you come here, we are getting people heavenly ready.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this, screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for joining us. It's Wild Wednesday, and it's not very often that we have 4 guests in studio to speak at the same time. And you're probably wondering what I mean by that, because Ricardo is here, and Michaela is here, and Kiwi, and Chupa. Yeah. Super Chupa. And I think at this point, a bit of a sour kiwi. But guys, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
What species of parrot, because you could tell it's parrot, what species of parrot do we have with you this morning?
The orange-wing Amazon parrot.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And they're very common, because I see like many persons of parrots. This species in particular.
This is one of our local species of parrots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
It's just one of them, though.
Yeah, because they're multiple, aren't they?
Yeah. So we have this one, and we also have the yellow crown Amazon parrot. Not yellow head, yellow crown, because people mix them up a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to need to do a bit more research to get photos just for it to click in my head. But guys, just to let you know that if you are seeing the parrots, you would be seeing the parrots on your screen. If they're looking a bit odd in terms of color, no, it's not because Ricardo decided to have a dye job on them. It's because they're green and they're just clashing with our green screen, and that's absolutely fine, because the mere fact is they're still here with us. Ricardo, how are you doing? It's been a while.
It's been a while, but I'm doing great. You know, how was your carnival?
It was good.
I know. And
got some R&R.
So we brought these birds today because, you know, you can't get enough of those feathers. We got some more feathers for you here today.
Keep working on them jokes, man.
So these are fine feathered friends, one of the most common pets kept in Trinidad and Tobago according to surveys, and it's about 99% of people are doing it wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Doing it wrong in what sense? Keeping them as pets, or how they handle them
the
as
whole,
pets?
The whole, you know, aspect of keeping them as pets, getting them as pets. Let's start off with that. They're usually no real breeding program in Trinidad, so people usually cut down or dig out a tree to get the babies. That's where we start off with them. They're right there away. Sometimes they get injured when they fell the tree to get them, or whoever threw them down from the tree for you to catch, and so on. So it's a bad start. They're kidnapped from their homes, and you can often see the parents flying around squawking, bawling for them. So that's the start. Then it gets to the household, where the first thing that they feed them would be, say it?
Bread and milk.
Bread and milk. Bread and milk.
I've seen people feeding these animals bread and milk, yeah.
Right. Anyway, on this bird here, I hope it's showing up there, you know, do you see mammillary glands? Could the bird produce milk? Yes, there is something called crop milk. But what crop milk is, the parents would venture out and fill their stomachs with all sorts of goodies and nutritional stuff, from flower petals and nectar and seeds and fruit and so on, get that all ground up in there in the crop, and then it would come back to the nest and regurgitate it for the baby. So the baby gets all that stuff out there without having to leave the nest. That is what crop milk is. Not milk from a cow. Not a cow, people. Not a cow. No milk for this animal. So you start off by giving the animal basically a disease or a foundation of illness.
Really? It's so detrimental to their health, bread and milk?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, just imagine flour, bread. If we continuously eat flour, if you think about us humans, right?
But we're not supposed to consume milk.
Right, and then include bread in our diet. That's high in carbohydrates and other calories and stuff, right? Why would you want to give an animal who is like 10 to 15 times smaller than us that? Just imagine the fat content in having that, and you giving that to this animal.
Yeah.
Right? It could lead to fatty liver disease. That's something that they could get, right?
Wow.
Or fatty lipomas. So it's basically like excess fat on your body that just grows in different spots.
I think he's going for a little walk.
Right.
Better grab before he crashes.
Yeah.
But, oh, he had some fun there. So, no, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. What else? I mean, besides in terms of the milk and bread, it's a very important point that both of you guys have raised, because I've seen parrot owners feeding bread and milk, especially to the younger birds, more often than not. So what are some of the other things that they're getting wrong that needs to be corrected?
Sunflower seeds.
Really?
Yes.
And pardon my ears, I don't have a parrot, never had a parrot, but I actually thought, given how common it is and how bird bird stores, I'm going to say bird stores, pet shops actually.
Yeah.
They sell these things. Sunflower seeds are wrong, it's bad?
Yes. Extremely high in fat, 49% fat in sunflower seeds.
That's why you can make oil from sunflower seeds and use that to fry your aloo and thing.
You're really blowing my mind this morning.
Yeah.
Huh? I actually wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So it's bad for them. So then what is it that they should really be consuming besides fruit?
All right, stop and just look at a parrot fly now. They fly out in the morning, fly back in the evening. Do we have any sunflower seeds fields in Trinidad?
No.
No. So that is definitely not part of their diet. What do they do? What do people call and complain about? The parrot come, it eat the mango, it eat my 5 finger, it mash up the coconut, it mash up the orange, it eating all the plums, I can't get no cherries. You see the variety of our local fruits that these birds survive on quite well? They'll go on the immortal tree, eat the petals, suck the neck. There's so much out there. Okay, so what you have to try to do as a responsible owner is replicate this variety of diet, nuts and seeds and stuff like that there. You know, so you can actually even cut open a coconut, and that is better than almost anything else singly that you can give the bird. You know, getting vitamin A, and it's just amazing what we have. But what do? We do what is sold to us from North America. Okay?
Yep.
They don't have the access to the resources we do. And we want now the convenience. Okay? So it's like we have access to, for the most part, fresh fish, but we rather pop a can of something that has probably been on the shelf for the past 10 years from an animal that has been living for 50 years. How does that match up? Good, fresh, old stuff on a shelf that you don't know when it was there from. So this is the same thing with these birds. You have to make the effort to give them peppers. Imagine peppers. They love peppers.
Really?
Yeah.
Peppers?
Peppers.
Okay.
Could you eat a whole pepper? Could you eat a Congo pepper whole?
No, I can't. Believe me, I tried it. Was a dead.
I can't do it either. You know what's the difference between us and them?
Their stomachs, right?
Well, they don't have mucus glands.
Oh.
When you bite into pepper, what's the first things that happen?
Oh yeah, your nose starts to run.
Right, and your eyes and everything.
Your eyes start to...
They don't have mucus glands, so the pepper is just like a cherry for them.
God, I wish I had your stomach. Your anatomy sounds so... Do they consume insects?
Incidentally. Yeah.
Is it natural though for them to consume insects, or is it that if they're in a cage and somehow it ends up in the cage, or that just happens?
Well, imagine them consuming like a pawpaw. Pawpaw is ripe, full there, and something bugs onto the pawpaw and they're eating it there. If it doesn't move in time, it's part of the diet.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I say it's incidentally. They're not going to go out and try to capture anything like that.
So they're purely herbivores?
Yeah. Well, frugivore would be the correct term.
Frugivores, okay.
Yes, consume mainly fruits, nuts, and seeds and stuff like that there.
Wonderful.
So that is just now the start, the tip of the iceberg. What about housing? Housing. You know what most parrots are kept in? What's called a fan cage.
Yes.
Sold all over Trinidad. You take the top of an old fan, and that 18 inches is the parrot's life for the rest of its life.
Ideally, what should be the space for a parrot?
A parrot, Amazonian parrot, should have a space equivalent to about at least 36 by 48. 36 by 48 inches, right? And another, so you have 3 feet wide, 4 feet high, and at least another 3 feet deep. So at least the bird has the ability, the bird should have the ability to fly from one perch to the other, open its wings and articulate its wings, else it's going to lose the mobility of that. And then you can say, well, the bird don't fly. Well, the bird can't fly. If I leave you sitting for the rest of your life.
But people don't want to take them out of the cage in case they fly away, so they have their wings clipped.
There goes another problem, which is illegal. So there's a whole lot of
it's
people
illegal to clip their wings.
It's illegal.
So why are pet shops doing that?
Because they're going to tell you, look, it don't fly. It's nice. Easy to control. For the same reason people break the limbs on iguanas and stretch them behind their backs.
Yes,
they can't run. So it's not because it's done makes it right. And even if it's our tradition, we have a tradition of doing a lot of wrong things. This is the age of enlightenment and proper information. So we're hoping to get that out there so people see and understand the right way to do things. Stop torturing the animals. A lot of what we've done to the animals has basically been torture for most of their lives. Time for that to change. And we welcome the opportunity, as always, to come on here on a Wild Wednesday and impart some knowledge. So maybe one person, 2 people, 3 people out there would get that And it'll tell your neighbor, hey, you know, you're not supposed to cut the wings.
How old do these birds live to?
So in captivity, they actually can go up to 80 years.
80 years?
Yes, in captivity. In the wild,
they can live longer than we.
In the wild, it could range like from 50 to 55 years. But it also had one captive parrot that was recorded to reach 100 years. This species, the orange-winged Amazon.
Wow.
Yeah, so they could live pretty long. But that's provided that they're on a proper formulated diet. Like you can't go feeding sunflower seeds and all these things and then expect your bird to have a long life, right?
I never knew that.
Yes, they can live very long. So just going back a little bit to diets, just to touch on some stuff that Ricardo said as well, they could also have a formulated diet called pellets. And this formulated diet have all the different vitamins, minerals, everything in it. So they don't go like choosing or like, okay, so you put a bowl of seeds and nuts and stuff. They go picking what they want. These are how these birds are, right? But if you have a formulated diet for them, that is the vitamins, everything is combined in it. So they can't choose what they want. So, you know, some, again, research say 80% pelleted diet, and the rest is fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
Right, but they can also have a wide variety of fruits and vegetables as well, because that's what they will find in the wild. And you will want to replicate what they find in the wild.
Oh, right. Again, I'm learning so much this morning. I'm pretty sure owners of parrots who've had them for years, probably decades, are also learning a lot this morning. So, Kiwi looks a bit angry at you, Ricardo. What did you do to Kiwi?
Well, Michaela called him Kiwi. Kiwi is actually one of my favorite fruits for consumption. So he's probably like, just don't bite me, just don't. No, we're safe.
He'll bite back, you know, don't worry. Kiwi's got that look in his eyes where he's just silent but deadly.
He is very sweet.
I'm looking at him, I'm thinking of the Mission Impossible theme or the 007 theme. He looks like the John Wick of Paris.
Right.
Kiwi, don't worry, that's actually a compliment. I love John Wick. Yeah. But let's see Super
This
Chupa.
is Chupa, yes.
Let's see Super Chupa.
Oh,
So
just stick him
I
down
call him
so you
Super
can see.
Chupa because you were telling me off air about it's a miracle, basically.
Yes.
He's a miracle. So tell us
This
more
is
about
a miracle bird. So Chupa was actually paralyzed. I got a call from a vet saying that the owners were giving up the bird because it fell out of their hands, right? And basically what happened was Chupa was he was very young at the time. He was about 3 months old.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was
3 months old, wow.
Yeah, he was 3 months old when these owners had him. And what happened, when he fell from their hands, his spine twisted, right? And the owners gave him up to euthanize him because they were like, they don't want to spend the money and the time trying to rehab this bird and go through the whole process, you know, trying to see, you know, if he will even be able to walk again. So she called me and I told her, okay, I will try with him and see what I can do, right? And I had him for about 2 months and I did physiotherapy with him, did laser therapy with him, had him on different meds. I did a lot of stuff with him. I even splintered his back, which, I mean, a lot of vets probably don't even know that
you should do.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just trial and error, right? I just tried different things with him. And this is Chupa today. Chupa is going really good. The only thing with him is he doesn't walk properly, I guess, a normal parrot. His gait and stuff is still shaky. But I mean, he could climb, he could do different things. He could hold his food.
He looks like he can do it all.
Yeah, I mean, when I got Chupa, he couldn't move. Literally, he just like roll.
Oh.
Yeah, his 2 legs were just like stretched out. He couldn't move his toes. He couldn't do anything at all.
I've noticed that he has a bit of a discoloration in his feathers compared to Kiwi. Why is that?
Yeah, that is a nutritional deficiency.
So
it
that's
still
all
isn't
part of...
it still isn't corrected because the previous owners used to feed him bread and milk when he was younger. That's another thing. So that was his diet before. So it's still a work in process. Like his new owners, because I found a home for him, I gave his new owners some vitamins to start putting in his water, which includes vitamin A, E, and protein, which is really good for feather health, especially protein. You know, so it's just a working process with him. Hopefully when he makes his first shed, he will start looking like Kiwi here.
Okay, Kiwi, you got the compliments.
Yeah.
Are you happy now?
Look like a delicious fruit.
Ricardo's going to lose a nose in a bit. So what else do we need to know about these beautiful birds? I mean, the good thing is that they haven't spoken too much. Not too much. They will probably a bit camera shy, that's why.
Yeah.
But what else do we need to know about these birds? Because you guys have said so much this morning, which, like I said, it's all new to me. So what else is there?
One thing I like to bring up is the pet trade, bringing them in from Venezuela.
Yeah, because Amazonian, they're not indigenous to TNT, of course.
Well,
they are.
yeah,
They are.
yeah.
But it's easier to get them from there, cheaper.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Especially the yellow crown Amazon. They initially was not one of our parrots, but it was introduced here through the pet trade. So they basically come one of our local parrots now because they just live here and multiply and
wow.
Yeah. I wish I had bring one to show you the yellow crown.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
You see, that's the beautiful part. We've got more Wild Wednesdays to come. But okay, so, you know, I see a lot of parrots on an evening in flocks. They're flying. Any particular species we see more often than not? These guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these are probably the ones that you see flying early mornings and late evenings.
You guys are very, very talkative when you're flying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
they are
communicate.
very noisy.
Yeah, very complex communication patterns and vocalization, so they use that. But they're not the ones that are great talkers. They're actually terrible at mimicking human voices closely. The yellow crown is the one that does that, and that's the one that they call the Veni. Okay, because again, most of them are smuggled in from Venezuela. These are great at imitating pitches and tones. So a lot of people, they would do the reverse and the backup sound on your car. They would do your car alarms. They would even do a kind of dog-like bark, whistles and tones. Parrots are one of the few animals that are rhythmic. So if you do dot, 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 parrots can pick that up and replicate that with their, right? That's how they're able to, you know, become endearing to people. So they're very rhythmic. Most animals have no clue. It's just a noise to them, one way or the other.
Good form of security as well, I suppose.
Yeah, they do alarms. Oh my gosh, the alarm calls are just astounding. You know, they have people running out to their cars, want to know what happened and why the car alarm going off, and it's the bird just there. You know, but one thing they all do very well, they have a good laugh. All parrots, it seems, they would do something and then they see people respond and react and they would go,
yeah.
They know that. They pick that up from us and they know when to laugh. They know when to laugh. So they're quite, you know, and of course you have the people who are thrilled by the fact that they can, the talkers can learn bad words.
Yes, we got one example of such individuals this morning, actually, who's thrilled. That individual said, you must teach the parrot how to say this bad word.
Okay, all right, well, to each his own. It's a different culture, but, you know, I think a good morning, a good afternoon, please, and thanks would be quite sufficient. You know, not necessarily degraded anybody's
guys, it wasn't me. It wasn't me who said that.
Right.
It was somebody else.
Right. So yeah, again, you know, if the parrot can pick it up, I guess your children can pick it up also.
Yeah.
So I hope that they're appreciative of the fact that those children use those terminologies also.
But they can make good family pets and good companions if you look after them as you should look after them.
Right. And therein lies a problem also. They bond. Parrots will mate for life.
Okay.
So they have this bond in nature. So a parrot, for example, evidence that a parrot bonded to a couch in a house. So they had it there, the cage was next to the couch, and they would go every day, and the bird was just there with the couch. And they couldn't figure out what was going on. When they rearranged the room and moved the parrot was freaking out.
Oh, wow.
Then when they put it back, just put it back how it was there, they realized that it's the couch. The parrot wants to be by the couch. That makes it happy, comfortable. You know, he probably is trying to talk to the couch, whatever it is. So it happens with people now. So your mom has a parrot. So we've had several parrots come like this. And then sadly, as people do, she passed on. And now the bird hates you. Or is now miserable and vocalizing and acting up. And then they want to get rid of the bird. I can't take it anymore. It's carrying on and so on. They don't understand. And that's what happens. And people need to understand this. So you're getting in as an adult into a relationship, a 50-year relationship. So that means, okay, if you're 30, you're planning to live to 80 and keep this bird right through. And this is why there are so many unwanted parrots in the US, you know, because people got into the parrot thing. And then after a while, too noisy, too much feather, allergic to the dander, doesn't like my husband, doesn't like my child. And now, which one is disposable? You're going to get rid of your husband? You're going to get rid of your child? No, you get rid of the parrot.
You sure about that? You give some people an option.
So lots of parrot sanctuaries in the US now because, they're breeding them there now. So they don't even have to take anything from the Amazonian region anymore. They're breeding them, they're captive bred, or the rings, closed rings and so on. Yeah. But after a while, people realize it's not for me. With a dog, you can get away, you know, it's accustomed to people and stuff like that. This is still a wild animal. It's not domesticated.
Yeah. Beautiful creatures, though. Yeah. Still amazed at how Kiwi is just...
Yeah, I mean, he's accustomed going on displays and interacting with kids and other people. And
oh, that's
so, yeah, he's just chilling.
Chupa is just like having the time of his life.
Baby, that's the difference. That's a literal baby, and this is
only attacking machine.
Right. How old is Kiwi?
Kiwi is about 8 years old.
Yeah, so you're real old. Well, no, you're young, but
he's still
you've
young.
been around.
Yeah.
Been around.
And by the way, guys, like I mentioned, if you are wondering why are the parrots looking that way, it's because of the green stream and their green encounter. So it's a bit of a clash, but that's absolutely fine because I thank you guys for bringing Kiwi and Chupa on this morning. And, well, let them come back soon enough.
Yeah.
Maybe Kiwi will actually say something. You want to say goodbye? Do you want to say hello? Okay.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Kiwi, I would like to say it's a great opportunity to be here today to present my green, fluffy self on the green screen.
Kiwi, if ever you need a good defense attorney, let me know. Ricardo, good seeing you again, my friend.
Great to be back, and looking forward to getting even wilder as the Wednesdays come on.
As the Wednesdays come on. Michaela, thank you so very much, and well done on your rehabilitation of Chupa.
It really makes me proud.
It should.
Yes,
it
was
really
a really
should.
successful case, yeah. I couldn't believe it, because I and all was like, I don't know if I could do this, but I did it.
Well, he's actually formed is that going to be an issue though? Like, he's formed such a close bond with you, his new owners.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll take some time because he's still young.
Yeah,
so.
he's still a baby, yeah. He's about a couple of months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like 11 months, almost a year, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because I got him last year, like around June, and he was already between 3 to 4 months at that time.
Oh.
Yeah.
We share birthdays. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for this edition of AM Prime. I've learned a lot. I hope you have. But in your days ahead, may they be safe, may they be productive, and may we all do our part to make TNT just a bit sweeter. I'm Keaton Shaw, and this has been AM Prime, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.